All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Xochitl Cazador, and I lead ecosystem growth at the Celo Foundation.
And I'm Tim Morton, and I lead engineering at cLabs. We're going to tell you about the amazing progress we've seen in the Celo ecosystem in the last 12 months and share a preview of what's around the corner. So Celo is a mobile-first blockchain that makes financial tools accessible to anyone with a mobile phone. You may be asking yourself, well, why mobile? Well, there are 8 billion mobile devices in the world now. Last year, we passed for the first time 6 billion smartphone subscriptions. Mobile devices are increasingly how people are accessing the internet and financial services. The adoption of smartphones outpaces the adoption of traditional financial access and bank accounts. This is a huge opportunity for everybody in the crypto space, for all platforms. We are really just at the beginning. I think June estimates, as one measure, the DeFi users right now are less than 4 million in total across all platforms. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Celo, I'll give a quick background. Celo is an L1 blockchain that is fully compatible with Ethereum tooling and with the EVM. You can run smart contracts built in Solidity for Ethereum unmodified. It uses proof of stake. It uses proof of stake consensus. It has high throughput, and it has 5-second transaction finality. It also enables trustless mobile dApps to be built on top of the platform. Applications for mobile devices that connect directly with the blockchain. Rather than relying on centralized nodes, apps can choose to trustlessly access chain data and make transactions. You can sync thousands of times faster and with thousands of times less data than with other chains. The Celo platform includes native support for a family of algorithmic stablecoins, which are backed by a diversified crypto reserve. And in order to support a really simple user experience, you can also pay for gas using any of these currencies, and that's baked right into the platform. Celo supports a lightweight identity protocol that makes it easy to prove that you have access to a mobile number through a decentralized method of sending SMS, and it maintains that mapping securely and privately. And this means that you can use that mapping to send and receive payments to users just using their phone number. And more than that, you can actually receive payments before even starting to use Celo. The escrow contract allows you to send payments to a contract and associate them with the phone number of the recipient and redeem them if they are, reclaim them if they are go unredeemed.
And Celo is growing. Since we spoke at last year's Mainnet, there's been several exciting developments. First, Valora, a mobile-first application launched on Celo, which allows users to pay, send, and store value, launched. Think of Valora as a global Venmo or Cash App built on crypto rails. We're also seeing the introduction of new stablecoin currencies. So in addition to Celo Dollar, which launched last year, Celo Euro launched earlier this year. And we expect to see many more stablecoins in the coming months. Another development was the growth of the Alliance for Prosperity. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the Alliance, it's a group of projects that are committed to furthering Celo's mission of creating an open financial system that creates conditions of prosperity for all. It grew to 155 organizations. One of the most recent additions to the Alliance for Prosperity was Deutsche Telekom, who made a strategic purchase of Celo native assets to explore blockchain use cases in partnership with Celo. T-Systems is running Celo validators and participating in the governance of the Celo network. I'm also excited to share some of the great traction that we're seeing in the Celo ecosystem. There are 300,000 daily transactions and growing, 1.2 million addresses, 334 applications built on Celo that really cover a broad spectrum of use cases, from payments, DeFi, savings, earnings, giving, and NFTs, and more. Just this month, the total value locked on Celo grew to over 800 million, which doubled from last month. One of the things that also sets Celo apart is that it's a carbon neutral blockchain. Not only is it an efficient proof of stake chain, but it also sets aside a portion of the block rewards to offset carbon. Since launch last year, the amount of carbon offsets is the equivalent of 300,000 trees, which is amazing. And our developer community is growing. As an open source platform, developers are the heart of our ecosystem. The builder community has grown to 2,000 individuals, and one of the metrics that I'm most proud of is how global our ecosystem is. In the last 3 months, we grew from 80 countries to over 113. We believe that the future of crypto is mobile. Users can not only pay, send, store value from their phones, but also earn, borrow, and give. And I'd love to highlight a few examples of that for you today. One is a project called Impact Market. It's a universal basic income program, which allows users to find communities that they want to donate to. Beneficiaries then receive funds once a day that they can claim. To date, since launch, they've helped 100 communities across the world, close to 20,000 beneficiaries earning 50 cents a day. And while that amount may seem small to you and to me, it adds up and it makes a big impact in the community. One example is a favela in Brazil. And as individuals started to receive funds, they became excited. A beautiful thing started to emerge. Micro ecosystems developed where crypto is circulating as a medium of exchange in these communities. Another example of a real world use case in action is Rhoda. Rhoda is a program that was launched at the beginning of the pandemic to provide microloans to Rappi drivers. Rappi, for those of you that don't know, is the equivalent of Uber Eats in Latin America. Individuals like Jorge here received a $500 loan to purchase a motorized bicycle. These individuals didn't have access to basic financial applications, and a simple $500 loan made a big difference in their lives. It not only increased their productivity, but doubled and in some cases even quadrupled their income. The last use case that I'll share with you is a micro work use case in Kenya, where Corsali partnered with Appen to provide individuals with the opportunity to perform micro tasks on their phones and earn crypto. And as Brian points out on the next slide, he and others couldn't believe that they could earn income simply by performing tasks on their phone anywhere.
So yeah, and this is just the beginning. The Celo project has been, the mainnet has been live only 16 months now. So among the many things that the community is building right now, I just wanted to share one thing that I'm particularly excited about. Optics is a new design for radically cheaper cross-chain communication. It's not a bridge. I mean, it is a bridge, but it's not just a bridge. It's more like a general purpose foundation for building cross-chain zaps. Developers can leverage the underlying channel to pass messages and write software that executes on multiple chains. So Optics consists of contracts deployed on a home chain and any number of replica chains, either proof of work or proof of stake. We expect operating Optics will cut 90% off of gas costs compared to a traditional header relay. And this is all achieved without having to trust the operator of any of these components. So it's deployed now on Ethereum, on Celo, and on Polygon, with more chains coming soon. The first Zap, a bridge which is going to be making it very easy to move assets between all of these chains, is launching in the coming days. So please make sure you drop by one of the sessions featuring James Prestwich and also Marek Olszewski's talk later in the week to learn more about Optics.
Another exciting development in Celo is DeFi for the people. And if we think about DeFi today, there are many barriers of entry. Gas fees can be quite high. It's a complex user experience. And to date, it's been largely targeted at the top 1%. DeFi for the people is a program that will help make DeFi more accessible to the 8 billion smartphone users around the world. The program was launched by a group of projects that are really committed to making DeFi more accessible. Projects like SushiSwap, Aave, Curve, 0x, and many more. And we invite you to join the movement. This program is really focused in 4 areas. And so there are 4 ways that you can get involved. The first is $100 million worth of Celo has been committed as incentives and education to make DeFi more accessible. The second is really promoting the development of more native mobile applications within the ecosystem. So there's $1 million hackathon, which is launching next month that has cash prizes and seed funding. The third area is really around user research. And so there's a special research program that has been launched to really begin to innovate on products that can make DeFi more accessible. And last but not least, really all about local activation, a microgrant program that is really focused on how do we educate communities on crypto and activate these local communities around the world.
Can you hear me? Oh, great. So thanks so much, Xochitl and Tim. I have a couple questions prepared from the audience to ask you. First up, talking about some of these grant programs, the pilot program in Colombia that you spoke about issuing under collateralized small loans. You mentioned that Celo can really help provide transparency about how fraud can be avoided using the network to do so. And I noticed that one of the in one case there was a fraud reported, and I was curious to know how it was detected and how it was mediated.
Yeah, definitely, I can take this. So I think what's really interesting about microlending on the Celo platform is that it does provide more transparency. One microfinance agency that we spoke to, just for context, this is a very large firm, had to replace their entire country team because of fraud, right? That effectively was millions of dollars. And in this case, there were checks that were put into place with all of the transactions being online and on the blockchain and traceable. That fraud was really easily detected, right? And could be acted on really, really quickly to prevent that and any further action from occurring.
Great, thanks. And the next questions we have here are about the optics bridge. Congratulations on that. I know it was just released last week, or sorry, not just a bridge. And the question we have here, we know that right now the bridge is connecting between Celo, Ethereum, and Polygon, and more chains in the future. And we're just curious about which chains are up next.
That's a great question. I don't think there have been any kind of hard decisions made on that, but I think Solana and Near are both obvious candidates there.
Great, thanks, Tim. And also just a follow-up question to that. As I understand, the optics bridge can also leverage, any channel, splitting the logic of the communication channel from the application. And I know that, you're starting with the current design, but it's the possibility to move to other channel options, such as IBC in the future. And I was just wondering, how far into the future do you see the implementation of other communication channels, such as IBC?
Sorry, how far into the future do we see?
Yeah, being able to, use different communication channels paired with different application channels, layers, sorry.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting design choice to split these two and to, optics picks a kind of different point in the trade-off space compared to IBC. And yeah, I mean, it's one of its strengths, I think, is it's very easy to implement. It's very easy to add optics to chains, and there's very little protocol level support kind of needed. I think if you look at Celo to so we already have bridges, and I can see many other bridges coming, and optics is certainly not by any stretch going to be the only bridge. Of course, Celo is an open platform and people can deploy anything they like. But I think it's something that something that's very attractive about optics is that you do need these very minimal protocol support in order to be able to do it. So I think it's much easier to see optics launching on other chains than it is to see us being able to add support for IBC, even at a communication level onto Celo. But yeah, they're both really interesting solutions with really really kind of just different solutions in the kind of trade-off space.
Definitely cutting edge. Thank you. And one last question. Xochitl, I know you mentioned that user adoption has really grown over the last little while here. And the question was pertaining to how you see the future of Celo and if you might feel the need to incorporate a layer 2 solution of any kind. And if so, how this can be done without sacrificing on user experience on the mobile phones.
Yeah, definitely. I can start this off and would love, Tim, for you to join in. So I think we're still in the early days of adoption. We're starting to see kind of really exciting growth with the different use cases that I mentioned. I think that as we look at the different initiatives we talked about with optics and DeFi for the people, our expectation is that this will continue to grow. And I know the team has been doing a lot of work on scalability, and I'll actually let Tim kind of chime in to address that one. Yeah.
Sorry, searching for the unmute button. Yeah, absolutely. Scalability is definitely one of the primary areas of work that we are kind of conducting on the blockchain level. There'll actually be a couple of pretty exciting announcements about that in a few weeks' time. One, we've made a ton of strides in scalability during the year. I think we have increased the throughput of the network by 3x during this year. There's a governance proposal that will create an effective increase of a further 60% that will be going out this week. But there's still a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done, and I think there are many different ways you can tackle that problem. L2s are a very important and very promising one that I think we're looking at. I don't know that we are far enough down that journey yet to understand to kind of understand the implication of the properties of Celo being accessed from a mobile device, really. But I think there's actually a long way we can go before we kind of get to the point of needing to create specialized L2s. Certainly, it's one thing that another reason we're interested in optics, and that lays the groundwork for us to be able to easily join together potentially multiple Celo chains, and gives us some kind of route towards horizontal scalability as well.
Great, thanks. I found one last question from the crowd here. A question about how do you see yourself or Celo positioning as compared to other EVM chains, and how to differentiate Celo from the rest of what we have going on in the ecosystem?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, Celo has always been primarily about broad crypto adoption, and really about solving the needs of mainstream users. And that, I think, originally we decided to work towards that goal in a pretty full stack approach, right? Combining an L1 with integrated smart contracts, with Valora, a great user experience and a mobile device, and making all of those layers work seamlessly together. The crypto world has moved a long way since that vision was put together, and I think there is a lot of opportunity to play to the strengths of the various layers of Celo as a platform. And this is exactly what we're seeing in terms of broad developer adoption at the high level, continuing our strength, continuing our commitment to EVM compatibility, to full tooling compatibility with Ethereum, being able to use wallets like MetaMask and so on. All at the same time, we are still focused on those end use cases, not just the DeFi usage that Xochitl talked about, but also some pretty interesting stuff around payments and partnerships around payments, UBI you saw as well. So one aspect is that we have always been pretty, as a community, always been pretty decentralized, right? So there has never been a multi-sig controlling Celo. It launched from day one in a very decentralized fashion. cLabs has never run a single validator on the Celo network. We're like, if you look at the kind of metrics in terms of the number of organizations that are contributing to the like providing the core L1 blockchain, it's among like it's a very like broad number among core EVM chains. So that is that decentralization is an important part of our DNA. And at the same time, like we believe in some of the benefits that we have been able to show and deliver, like the benefits that proof of stake can bring, and also the ability to kind of create a like layer one platform, which is truly carbon negative as well. So yeah, those are just some aspects.
Great, thanks so much, Tim. Looks like our time is up, but thanks so much for speaking with me, and hope to see you both next year at Mainnet 2022 in person.
In person.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. See you, everyone.